Good evening, everybody. Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 116. Thanks for joining us. Sorry if I sound a little nasally. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. So tonight we're going to talk about when you need to send your shocks in for repair. So before we jump into that, I want to acknowledge some folks who had great weekends last weekend. We won a handful of races there at the Shorey Shootout, which is a big indoor dirt quarter midget race. So super excited for all those young guys who won. That was a race we wanted to go to. We weren't able to go to this year. Our shock trailer is actually down in North Carolina at the moment at the KKM Give Back. So T-Bone and Ronnie are down there helping customers. I was just looking at practice times. Looks like there's maybe 114 or so cars have practiced tonight, so that's awesome. We had some guys up near the front. Kyle Larson is running the driven house car down there with the new XT4 on it, and he was quickest when I looked. So that's Kyle Larson, though. He could probably win with any shocks. And then we had some customers win out at the Cal Cup in California. So Chance Crum got the 1200 win. Corey Day won non-wing. And Maverick, I'm drawing a blank on his last name, picked up the restricted win. So really cool to see all those guys get wins and finish the season strong. So it's kind of starting to wrap up everywhere. There's still a few races on the West Coast. We're super excited that the Winter Nationals out in Vegas, they announced over the weekend that they're going to get to host that event. So that's a race you will see us at. We've been out there traditionally a bunch of years in a row, and it's a great event. And typically they get a ton of cars. So without the Brickyard this year, that definitely will be the largest attended quarter midget race of the year. So looking forward to going out there. So, all right, we'll jump in. If you have questions, ask. I have my phone here so I can answer any questions that you may have. And so I'll stop and check that, and we'll dive into tonight's topic. So this time of year, we get tons of calls on, hey, I've got 15 nights on my shocks. Should I send them in? Hey, I got, 10 nights on my shocks. Should I send them in? Just timed out where they weren't fully ready for a rebuild. That's just all the races they got in. So typically we're looking at 20 to 25 nights across all of our shocks from quarter midgets on up. The one exception would be the JRX through shaft quarter midget shock. It needs rebuilt about every 15 because we're dealing with twice as many seals on that through shaft. But the rest of them, 20, 25 races is about the window we're looking at to get those shocks rebuilt. So if you ended the season at race 15, we're going to go over a couple things you can look at to make sure that your shocks are going to perform at their optimum come next season. So just because they don't have 25 races on them doesn't necessarily mean they don't need to be looked at, but we're going to go through a couple things that you should check and look at those things very carefully as you're disassembling your stuff. If all this stuff checks out good, and you want a little extra insurance, we do dyno our customer shocks for free. You can always send them in and say, just give these things a quick dyno. If you're local, you can drop them off. We do that for free. If you're out of town, you're just going to be out the shipping each way. And certainly if there's nothing wrong with the shock, there's no charge there. But so I have one shock here that has a fair bit of cosmetic damage, okay? This is a twin tube shock. And while this isn't very appealing to the eye, looks like a micro sprint shock that maybe the chain came off, there's really no performance loss with a shock that looks like this on a twin tube. So a lot of marks on it, but a twin tube shock, the piston moves up and down in an inner tube, and none of these got into the body so far that it ruptured the gas bag or compromised the inner tube. One way to check is just compress it, extend it all the way and compress it, and if you feel a catch anywhere, that would give you an indication that the dent went in so far that we hurt that inner tube, or if you felt a big dead spot on initial compression, maybe it ruptured the gas bag. So when you go to a monotube shock, those dents will hurt you because the piston is riding up and down in this outer tube. So a monotube would be pretty much any shock with a Schrader valve. The exception are XT. It has a Schrader valve, but with that new four-way, it has an inner tube as well. So, but the RS-17 our F8 series, the old MTXs, the old RS12 gas shocks, the piston moves up and down on this outer tube. So if you get a dent, you'll feel it on compression. The piston will catch there, and what that does is it's going to end up breaking the piston. You're going to have aluminum fragments floating through your shock, getting trapped in between shims, holding shims open, and it's certainly not going to perform how you wanted. So that's the first thing. Check cosmetically, is there any dents in the body anywhere? The second thing I would take a look at is, how do the monoballs feel? Is one of them really sloppy? Should we maybe look at just replacing that? Do they feel good? Any of them rusted up that we could maybe free up with some penetrating grease? So definitely check the monoballs. The other thing is, I would look at your seals, okay? So if you ever bottom a shock out really hard, you can tear this wiper or compromise the inner seal. And one of the things that can do that very common is if you have a nick in the shaft. So while you're giving the body a good once-over, you should rub your hands up and down on this shaft. Make sure that there's no sharp edges anywhere. So if you take a big rock ding and then that thing goes down inside the seals, it's a good chance it's going to cut the seal. So one of the nice things with our gold shaft coating is it does make the shaft harder, and it's less susceptible to having rock dings. So give the shaft a really good once-over as well. Kind of the last thing that I would really look at if I had an adjustable shock was, how does the adjuster feel? So thing might have 10 or 12 nights on it, hasn't seen any trauma, dyno's okay, doesn't need rebuilt yet, but I'm starting to lose the detent on this. I can't feel the detent, not quite as nice as I would like. That's super simple. You can rebuild that yourself or send it to us to rebuild. We actually did a whole Monday morning quarterback on how to rebuild these rod ends, but that would be an easy way for you to get that feeling good again. And sometimes you don't even need to rebuild it, just take it off and clean it out. Might just got some dirt in there. Dirt sits in the little indentions on the adjusting drum, and then you don't feel the adjustments quite as nice. So those are some things you can check out to ensure that your shock is working how it should, even though you maybe don't have the race count that's warranting a rebuild. So I'm going to jump on here and look and see if there is any questions. Rick Remore, hello, how's it going? Scott, are you going to be at the shop tomorrow around 4, passing through, planning on dropping some shocks? Yes, I will be here. Definitely pop in. We're here till 6 o'clock. I'm going to be here till about 5 tomorrow, but if you're running late, let me know. I'd be more than happy to wait for you. Eric, with the quarter midget asphalt racing, not as rough as dirt, is there any more longevity between rebuilds? Actually not. Quarter midget shocks go through a ton of abuse. Cars lining up and jumping over the top of each other, front end slamming down. That's really hard on shims. And those little shocks get a workout. So typically, a quarter midget, even if you're running it on asphalt, 20, 25 races is really all we recommend. So all the parts are scaled down, and they are still prone to failure if they see big velocities or displacements or get bottomed out. And typically we see that. Even with the older kids in the heavy classes, I don't feel like I go through a race day without somebody slamming over the top of someone laying down and all of that. So quarter midget shocks are typically less expensive to rebuild. It's a non-adjustable shock, and the seals are less expensive because they're smaller. The labor is less expensive. So typically you can freshen a quarter midget shock for $60, $65 if there's no drama there. Jeff has some RS12 shocks, and he's wanting to know on the threaded bodies, is it worth replacing or updating the bodies? If you're not running coilovers and you're not using the threads for anything, again, it's just aesthetics. If it's bothering you, we can replace it. If it's not, you can keep using them. It's not going to affect the performance of the shock. If you're using coilovers and you're having a hard time getting the right height adjuster up and down that body, then we might need to look at replacing the body. Those are like a square cut Acme thread, so there's really no tool we can use to chase that thread. It's a custom insert that our machine shop has to use to thread those bodies. So, anybody else have any questions this week? Exciting week for us here. As I said, the shock trailer's down at Millbridge, and we have our super sale kicking off on Friday. And in conjunction with that, we're launching a new website this week. So fingers crossed that all that works smoothly. We're just going over some final edits today with our web guys. And so when you go to do your shopping this week, you'll see an awesome new website. One of the new features we really worked hard on is the ability to really customize your shock package. So you can select whatever level you want, and then within that level, now you can select whether you want to add covers, shock adjusters, bump rubbers, on and on and on. You can really custom tailor a shock package for you. So don't miss out on the super sale. It's this Friday the 6th to Monday the 9th, and it's our best sale of the year. So we only do one like it. Everything on the store gets marked down. With the new website, you're going to see the discount in your cart. So if you add the item to your cart, you'll see the discounted price in the cart. Our old website, you would see the markdown right at the product on the website. So if you say, hey man, that thing's full price, put it in your cart, you'll see what the discount is. We're going to be releasing all the percentage markdowns on the different things later this week. So a lot going on. It's way better than our Black Friday sale. Our Black Friday sale is typically just apparel and Christmas items, where this is our one time that we discount springs and torsion bars and new shock packages and everything. So if you deal with one of our dealers and you want to do the purchase through them, get with those guys, because they can honor the super sale pricing as well, and we can get you fixed up with those guys. If you deal direct with us, you can call on Friday or Monday or shop all weekend long on our new website. Dave Harris, are the new micro shocks available to the public yet? Yes, they are. And the reason they haven't been added to the website is because we're launching this new website. So when the new website launches either Wednesday or Thursday, the new shocks are on there and you can order them. If you don't want to wait that long, you can call and order them. We have a decent backlog of them right now. You're probably looking at a 7 to 10 day build time. So we've been building quite a few of them. And we're shipping them every single day. I think we shipped 5 of them today. So does anybody else have any questions? We would love to hear your comments on our new setup, whether this is better for you guys out in the shop, kind of showing you more hands-on stuff, or you just like to look at my ugly mug sitting behind the computer. We do this for you guys, so whatever you prefer is what we're going to do moving forward. So no other questions? All right. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. Please like the video and share it with your friends. If you have non-Facebookers, these get posted to our YouTube page, and subscribe there. We would greatly appreciate it, and we hope to see you guys at a racetrack very soon. Take care.